All right. Hi, everybody, and welcome again to another one of our Shopify webinars. This time, we're very excited to talk about the Shopify POS Terminal. This is one of those cool devices that not everybody knows about, that they know that it exists, but not everybody knows that it exists. It's a great addition to Shopify's POS retail lineup, and we're definitely excited to show you what it's all about and show you some cool ways that you can certainly use it in your retail configuration. As we get started here, I want to start as we do, a little bit of background on us and who we are and what we're all about. So we're Sunrise Integration. We are a development integration company, longtime Shopify partner. We've been working with the point of sale and the Shopify online store since the beginning. We've been around for a long time. We work directly with Shopify on a lot of projects, so a lot of background on all of their services and all of their products, and we're definitely very excited to be able to do these webinars. As always, I'm joined by a motley crew of amazing people to help us out. And today we're very excited because we have somebody from the partner retail team, an engineer here, Sergio. So Sergio is from Shopify. So give him an opportunity to say hello there, Sergio.
Hey, hello. Really nice to be here. Glad to be here.
Awesome. Thanks. Sergio's been a huge help with us. He works directly on the retail team from Shopify. He's one of their partner solution engineers. So he's got all the great answers. So for those of you out there watching, if you have any questions about POS and the terminal, he's definitely the one to ask. And of course, we've got Patrick here from the Sunrise Integration side. He's on our sales and business side of things.
Hi,
Patrick.
everyone. Also glad to be here. As a quick side note, I will be manning the chat. So as Dean said, we have a resource here directly from Shopify to answer any questions you have. So please, be active in the chat, share your questions, thoughts, feelings, emotions, even just let us know if we're doing a good job. We'd love to hear it. Nice to meet everybody.
Cool. Thanks, everybody. Yeah, always fun to have someone from the Shopify on the line. What are we going to be talking about? So let's start with that. So as I mentioned earlier, today's going to be really focused on Shopify's POS terminal. So first and foremost, what is it? What's it all about? We'll definitely give you some insights on that. Then we'll jump into the Shopify administration and we'll show you how to configure it, right? How do you actually set up this terminal? What does it do? What does it look like in the administration section? And then we'll talk about some cool ways to use it. The terminal has these things that are called idle screens. So in other words, when the terminal's kind of set up and just sitting there, what's on that screen. Another great usage for the terminal is for tips, right? So this is a way to activate tips, potentially have customers come and put different kind of tip amounts into it. And then also some fun kind of clever things that you can do with it, right? So in addition to just being, hey, here's how somebody pays and here's how they can leave some tips, are there some cool ideas, like some kind of marketing ideas of how you could potentially use it for things like in-store bonuses or discounts or things like that? And spoiler alert, yes, there's definitely some cool things that you can do with it. So we'll show you what that looks like. Of course, as Patrick mentioned along the way, we will definitely going to be answering questions. So if you have any questions whatsoever, feel free to put them into the chat. And Patrick will grab those and we'll talk about those here as we go through everything. So let us jump right into it and get started. So first and foremost, what is the POS terminal? For those of you who don't know or who've never seen it before, it's basically a device, a countertop device that facilitates the payments as well as a view, kind of like a live view of the purchase itself. So it almost looks like a little iPhone. You can see on the screen here, there's a little cable that connects back over to the tablet, and it sits right on the counter there. So basically, when a customer comes up to the retail location, they'll be looking at the screen, and this is also where they're going to pay. So it's got tap, it's got insert, you can slide, it accepts all the Apple Pay, Google Pay, all that kind of fun stuff. So it's a nice little terminal specifically for the customer. And it is their interface, right? So as you're ringing things up on the terminal, on the POS, as you're adding products into the cart, they can see everything happening there in real time. So adding products, removing products, they can see everything. And also a good thing to note is that in some places, and we'll talk about this in a second, it's actually a requirement. There are some states that require that customers see what's happening. So we'll definitely talk about that in a second. And it's a handy little device for, like we were saying earlier, for tips, right? So if you want to have something laid out so you could potentially take tips, that's everywhere these days, right? That the tipping world is everywhere. So this makes it really, really easy to have a device on the counter like that. Now you might be thinking, well, isn't the tablet just a device that's on the counter? Sure, but typically the tablet is facing the staff member. And even though the Shopify system does have a great way for you to be able to kind of tilt it back and forth, this is just one extra step, one less step that you need to do, because this is a dedicated device. It's sitting on the counter, makes it really easy for the customer to have their screen and their interactions, and the staff to have their screens. So you can kind of separate the two and give everybody their own environment. So it's definitely a very handy thing to have. And then lastly, the terminal itself is kind of like a little bit of a branding, right? So it is this screen, it's about the size of an iPhone or so roughly, sitting on your counter. So this is a great opportunity for some branding, potentially putting in like your store logo, putting in maybe some details or some information. We'll talk about how you can use it as kind of as a marketing opportunity too, potentially putting in maybe something like a QR code or some different kind of information. It's almost like a little billboard sitting on every single station in your store where you can convey information to the customer. So again, very useful little devices to have, and in some cases, devices that are required. So before we jump into a live demo, I'd like to jump back to our team here and talk a little bit about some of those things. And Patrick, I'd like to kind of start with you regarding the requirements. We've been hearing a lot now from customers across the country that states are requiring that any POS that's in a location has some kind of an interface or some kind of a view for the customers to see during the transactions. What have you been hearing about that?
Yeah.
What have you been seeing about that?
Yeah, I mean, the world of digital commerce is an ever evolving space for rules and regulations and things that pop up. So it's important to note, that Shopify is on top of that. So offering a customer facing display at checkout is, I believe, now a requirement in the state of California, possibly other states. I'll need to dig in, but it's, I guess, important thing for merchants out there to be aware of. And then, there's other things too here that are important to note. Like, for instance, in Germany, it's a requirement that point of sale that the receipts print out with a barcode or a QR code that's scannable on the receipt. There's all sorts of things that pop up like this. So all things that Shopify is on top of and can accommodate. So that's definitely a big part of the draw. That folks are compliant with all these different rules and regulations. There's other things to get into. I'm happy to right now, but Dean, I'll let you steer the ship here.
Definitely. Yeah. And I like the fact that you said that, Shopify is kind of staying on top of these things. I think it's a great segue over to Sergio. So Sergio, what are you seeing? What successes have you seen from clients who have been using the terminal, and maybe kind of like, if you can, do some name dropping here, let us know
Yeah.
who's had some success and what you've seen,
No,
what people are
definitely.
saying about it.
Definitely, I'm sure that you can also find those big brand names public on some reference and posts that we have already shared with all the community. We can name it like from Aloe Yoga, Psycho Bunny. I think we can maybe expose the case of Allbirds brand. This renamed brand of shoes and that went from a digital born. But as they were growing, like they start facing these big challenges, specifically on the disconnect inventory. So like in a nutshell, the problem was like the stores had too much slow moving stock, right? So the online shoppers couldn't buy store inventory. And at the end of the session, the warehouse needs to return all that wasted time and money. So which was the solution on the Shopify POS terminal and leveraging the POS functionality. Well, with the stores, they directly start to fulfill the online orders, which also was, of course, reduce all the missed sales that they couldn't move. Less warehouse shipping, of course, because it could cost to just almacenate all the inventory on those warehouses. Again, the more spaces in the stores, boosting, of course, the sales, and the happy staff and customers, because all the omnichannel features that they could provide with the the connection between the online experience and the POS establishment. So I think Allbirds is like a great example here. And like Allbirds, we have like tested and a lot of testimonials with big brands that have been leveraging these omnichannel features with Shopify, and we can gladly discuss deeper in each one of them as in this webinar or so on.
Yeah, that's great. Thanks. So, do you know is all of the Allbirds retail locations, do they have a Shopify and a terminal set up like at all the locations?
Exactly, they migrated definitely, and they like leveraging all the functionality in staff store operations, and while also taking care of the shipping and the sales online.
Got it.
So this is
Okay.
great. This was a great investment in
Cool.
that
Yeah. So
cases.
if anybody out there, if you're, if you have an Allbirds store anywhere near you and you want to see this in, live in action,
Yeah.
definitely go check out Allbirds. They've got the POS, they've got the
Mhm.
terminals.
And check the customer defense and
Yeah, exactly. There you go. Patrick, any thoughts on that before we kind of jump into a live demo?
Yeah, I mean, the terminal is a piece of hardware, right? And it does a great job of taking the friction out of the interaction with the customer, but it's hard to
Mhm.
understate the importance of a unified system, right? So
Yep.
the fact that they're using Shopify point of sale in the first place with this really sleek piece of hardware with
Mhm.
the terminal with the customer facing display, that's really where the value is, right? Having the unified inventory management, gift cards, customer profiles, making it super easy for in-store customers to opt into marketing, and draw them to your online store. It's all one big cohesive story, and the terminal as a piece of hardware is a really important piece of that. But it's always important to keep the big picture in mind here. It's why are
Yep.
people moving to point of sale? It's because it's so tightly integrated with online, and like with Allbirds, like you're saying, these are sometimes digital first brands. Like they started online and they're growing into the retail experience. So it's a great seamless transition for them to roll out the Shopify point of sale system for those stores. Yeah, I could go on, but um,
Excellent. Cool. All
yeah.
right. Well, let's jump into a little bit of a live demo. So, we're sitting here talking about the terminal. Let's actually see it. Let's see what it looks like. I've got a terminal set up. I'll jump to this little camera view so you guys can see. So I've got my terminal device that's here set up. I've off to the side here. It's hopefully clear enough to see. It might be a little bit hard to see. So I'm going to jump into the Shopify backend. For those of you who are familiar with Shopify, the whole platform is a unified platform. So what that basically means is you've got the point of sale, but of course you also have the administration side behind the scenes. So you can manage a lot of your point of sale settings from the point of sale itself, or you can actually go into Shopify's administration section and manage it from there as well. So I'm going to pop into Shopify. So that's what you guys are seeing now. And in this point of sale area, if we click into the point of sale area, you'll see that there's going to be some settings. So when I go into my settings, there is an entire dedicated area just for customer displays. And so this customer displays is where we can manage all of the settings for the terminal. So I'm going to click here into this customer displays area. And now you see that there's a couple screens that show up here. So if I use my little camera here and I pop back over to my POS terminal, you'll notice that I've got the POS terminal set up here, that it simply just says Sunrise POS Store. So this is our little demo store, right? And I've got my tablet set up here. So this is kind of what the customer would see when they come into the shop and they look at the terminal. So at its most simple kind of basic default state, I've got the name of the store and I've got this blank screen here. Now, that's not really super interesting, but again, out of the box, if you're just trying to do something, that's what that is there. The editor inside of the settings of the of the Shopify retail area now lets you kind of spruce this up a little bit. So earlier I was talking about these idle screens that exist. So the idle screens is exactly what you're seeing on the terminal itself. So let's start with that. So first and foremost, let's say we wanted to set that up to try to make that a little bit more interesting. So I can click onto this idle settings here, and you'll see on the left-hand side here, there's a couple of little things that you can do to spruce up that display. So one of the first and foremost things you can do is this checkbox here that says, hey, we know you already have branding. We already know that you've got some colors inside of your Shopify store, right? Because it's a unified solution. You've got a bunch of things in there. You can just check this box, and the terminal screen will immediately inherit all of your branding and your colors. So even if maybe you're not ready to put an image or anything all like that, by just checking this box, you're now inheriting all of those colors onto this screen. So I'm going to hit save here. So if you've set up your branding, and I'll just click in here so you see what that looks like. When you click into this branding area inside of Shopify, it's going to inherit everything that you've got here on this site and on this page. So I've done just some very basic branding where I've put in some logos, I've put in some backgrounds, I've put in some colors, right? Just the most kind of basic stuff. And this is also usable throughout your site as well, right? So this isn't just for the terminal. These are your setting and your brandings that you've got throughout the entire site. And this is a great way, again, to keep everything cohesive, right? Keep it all matching and branding the same. So all of your settings, everything that you've got here, as long as you check this box here and you click save from here, it's now going to take those colors, any kind of branding you have there, and send it over to the device. So if I pop back over here on my little live view, you can see on my terminal here, again, very subtle, but it's now using the black and the kind of yellow that matches our branding from our company. So that's a very simple little thing that we can do. We can say, hey, let's put some kind of branding there on that particular screen. So now with customers are kind of walking around the store and they see this little terminal, it says, this is our Sunrise store. Okay, that's not super interesting, but let's take it to another level. Now you can see that there's the option here to add an image to this screen. Because this is a big little screen. If you look at it here, that's a good amount of real estate that's there. So if we go back to the Shopify administration section, we're going to say, you know what? Let's add an image to show up on that terminal screen. So I'm going to say select an image, and it's going to let me upload an image. It's a 1920 by 1080 image in the portrait view. So I've got one here that I've already saved. So I'm going to click it, say done, and apply it. Boom. So now you'll see from this screen here, it's now take that image, and it is showing you a preview here. And if I hit save, it's now going to apply that right to the terminal. So now when people are walking around the store, or they're coming up here, or they're coming up to your counters, instead of just seeing kind of a boring, black screen with just some text on it, they're now going to see a much more interesting looking display screen that's got your logo, that's got your branding, and has everything on it. So now that I hit save on this screen here, I'm going to go back to the live terminal view here. And we should see that updating here in just a second. It takes about a few seconds for it to get sent through and updated. Let me make sure that I hit save. Okay, we're waiting for that to update here. It should happen in just a second. Okay, and you'll see it. There it is. There you go. It took a couple seconds. So now you've got a much more interesting looking screen here. So imagine that you've got a retail store, you've got a couple different checkout stations, and so now when customers are walking around the store or walking up to the retail checkout stations, they've got a cool little branding. You can see from here, I've got a little picture of what our shop looks like. I've got branding, I've got some information on it. Definitely looks a lot more interesting to have. So let's start here. So we've got the terminal set up. We've got cool little branding on it. So most of the time, this is a good kind of starter setup for everything. You've got some branding, you've got the terminal set up. Well, how do we use it, right? How does it work? How do we now take what's happening on the screen and make it show up on the terminal? So let's use this environment that I've got set up here. I've got our cool little branding. I've got my POS screen set up here. So if I pop over to my actual POS screen that I have here, you'll see I've got an empty shopping cart. So During the normal process, you're going to add some things to the cart. So let me just go ahead and take one of our cool little Sunrise integration polo shirts that I've got, and I'm going to add it to the cart. Now, normally, if you didn't have a terminal, the staff member would see this screen here, right? You would see your checkout screen, and maybe you'd shift it over, or the customer would say, hey, what's in my cart? I'm trying to remember. Now with the terminal, if I jump back, you'll now notice that the terminal has the same listing that's also on the staff screen. So as you're adding or removing items, the terminal updates in real time. So you can see that one item that I just added, the polo shirt, shows up on the terminal. So if I was to add another product, let's do that here in this view so you guys can see the kind of real-time view of it. The second I add another item to the cart, boom, you can see that the terminal has also updated, and now you've got both items showing on the terminal. So the customer gets a real-time view. And then this goes back to what Patrick was mentioning earlier about, this kind of some of the laws around making sure that they see exactly what's happening. This lets the customer see exactly what's happening. Anything that the staff member is doing, they can see. So there's no chance that anybody's kind of slipping in something they don't want or anything at all like that. And if you're doing any kind of deletes, right? So if I go, to my POS screen here and I say, you know what, I'm just going to delete that item. As soon as you delete it, you'll see that it removes it from the terminal. So it's nice to have a nice little real-time view, a nice real-time action of everything that's happening. So I'll swipe another one here. As soon as I clear out the cart, look what happens. It jumps back to this to the idle view, goes back to that almost like a little poster, if you would, for your store, and you're ready to start over again. So again, a really great way to give the customer a little insight into what's happening into the cart in real time. So I'll pause for a second, get back here to my team of awesome people here. Any questions that are cropping up, Patrick, about the terminal or anything at all we can add in terms of this kind of basic, we're talking about the basics, right? You got a cart, you can show that something happened in the cart. Any questions that are popping up?
No questions that are popping up. I guess I would just, add that obviously all like the standard checkout functionality is there with, tapping and swiping and all that stuff with the chip reader. So, I don't know if you're planning on showing that, but just to assure anybody here on the line that the terminal handles all your standard checkout options. I guess I'd be curious to know how the terminal can be extended or customized, but I don't have any specific questions from the audience at this point.
Mm-hmm, definitely. Yeah, we'll definitely get into the checkout and the next step here in terms of, how you can actually use it for the checkout. I just wanted to kind of start with the simple, adding products, kind of managing products. Sergio, in terms of some of the retailers you're seeing, are they taking advantage of that? I'm going to jump back to the live screen here where you can see I've got my terminal set up and I've got a nice custom image, on the screen there. Do you find that the retailers are using that in a way to show off some branding of their store or some cool lifestyle images? How are some of the retailers using that kind of poster screen?
Definitely. I think it's one of the most required features on the retail world, and actually every merchant who starts with Shopify is one of the first questions or the first needs on, hey, how can I have this customer display facing? Because we need to provide promos, just brands, and they put very creative on the use of that, but they definitely use it as a required part of their initial setup. And Shopify can also bring this functionality with the POS terminal.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. And I think Sergio said the right thing. Customers really want to know what's happening. They want to have an insight into the process, and the terminal lets them see that. And one of the things that's extremely important is Sergio, you're mentioning about discounts, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's summertime now, right? But as the holidays come up and as those Black Friday deals and all that kind of thing happens, there's going to be a lot of discounts, happening that the stores are running. So customers are probably asking a million times, did I get my discount? Did you apply it? I want to see it. So this takes all the guesswork out of that because the terminal's going to show that right on the screen. And we'll show that in just a second. But basically, when I add something to the cart and I put a discount on it, you can see that in real time on the terminal itself. So is that, Sergio, when you're talking about discounts, is that how they're using it as a way to kind of like validate promotions and discount codes?
Exactly. I think one of the best or the most inquiries about of the merchants is about the client experience, right? So Shopify is trying to align everything about how can we do, of course, the merchant experience better, but mostly how also customers can leverage all these user experience by bringing them. So these tools like having transparency on their checkout process and seeing exactly what they are buying at that time.
Excellent. Okay, well, let's jump into that checkout process since we're talking about that.
Yeah.
Let's see what that actually looks like. So I'm going to jump back now over to the POS screen. So I've got a brand new cart here set up, right? So there's nothing in the cart. So again, if I pop over to my terminal, you can see the terminal is just showing our cool little poster screen. So why don't we add a product to the cart? So I'm just going to take this product here. I'm going to take this hat again, which is one of our Sunrise integration hats, and I'm going to go to the cart. So as soon as I add this product to the cart, you can see that I've got this automatic 30% discount that I'm applying through an automatic function. So if I jump back over to the terminal, and it might be a little bit difficult to see on this particular screen here, but you can see I've got the product set up here, and right underneath it in green, there's a little thing showing you saying, hey, this discount has been applied. So the customer will see that they've got a discount and it's being applied right to that product. So now there's no question about, am I getting my discounts? Am I not getting my discounts? They'll see that applied to it. So if I was to click on this product, for example, and I was to adjust the discount or remove this discount, right? So in fact, here you can see that I've got this discount. If I was to maybe apply another discount on top of that or change it, maybe I say, you know what, we're going to give you this for 100% discount. This is a freebie product that we're going to give you on the cart here. So you can see that the change that I made here for this discount, if we jump back over to the terminal, shows up here. So you can see now I've given them a 100% discount. You can see the 100% discount on the cart, and you can see the total has been updated to also show 100% discount. So this solves a lot of that kind of customer service problems, right? People, hey, I want my discount. Did you give me my discount? Did I get my thing? This is a way that the customer can see everything that's happening in real time, and you don't have to worry about them questioning what's going on. But like Patrick was saying, what does the checkout process look like? What is the customer going to see when they go to the checkout? So I'm going to add some more products into the cart like you see here. So I've got a couple products. I'm going to go back to the cart and let's remove this discount that we've got on that one product. So that way we can have a better price in the cart. So I'm going to go to this custom discount here. I'm going to delete that custom discount so it's no longer a free product, and we're going to save that. Okay, so let's try to look at the two different views that we've got in place. So first off, what you're seeing now is the staff, right? So I'm the staff member. I've got my POS tablet set up. I can see the products that are in the cart. I can see the total. I can see everything. If I jump back over to the live view here for the terminal, you can see the terminal shows the same exact information. 2 items that are in the cart, you've got a subtotal, shows the taxes, and then it shows the actual total of the cart here. So as the checkout process moves along, you'll notice that the terminal is going to let the customer know what's happening. So I'm going to click the checkout button here. You guys will see in this view that now the staff member is starting the checkout process. So if I go back here and we're going to say, okay, well, let's go ahead and start the process. Because we've got the terminal set up, as Patrick already mentioned, you now have the ability to start tapping. You can insert here at the bottom. There's even a little slider that happens on the back here. So the checkout process will allow them to do their checkout. I'm sorry, I'm trying to do 2 things at once here. We're going to initiate the process. It allows them to initiate the checkout process, and on the screen, they can be prompted to enter the information that they need to enter here. So I am going to set up this checkout here. Now you can see as soon as I initiate the process, you can see that the terminal screen has this little thing saying, I'm waiting for payment. So now at this point, what's happening is it's waiting for the customer. So it's prompting the customer saying, hey, tap, put in your chip, do anything that you want. So it's prompting them to do what they need to do for their process. And then once they complete the process and we go through the process, I'm just going to go ahead and just kind of mark this as paid just to move this along. You'll see that they have the option through the terminal to say, I would like a receipt. Can you please give me a receipt? Or it can say, you know what, we're kind of a paperless company here. Why don't we just text me the receipt? So now it's giving the customer the option to decide to get an email, to get it printed, to get a text, however they want. They can do it, they can choose. And then the customer can say, you know what, I'm done. So they can click. Now it says, thank you for shopping at our store. Now you may remember if I go all the way back to the Shopify screen, that messaging is right here. Thank you for shopping at our Sunrise store. So you have the ability to customize not only that poster screen, but you can also customize that checkout screen right here. So you've got that thank you for shopping with us screen that can be customized. And once that process is over, again, the cart clears. We go back to that main poster screen and everything is handled right from that POS terminal. So again, nice interactivity, something for the customer to see, something for the staff to see, and lets them do it all from within this terminal unit right here. Now, a lot of people ask about tips, right? Again, we talked about that. That's one of the next big things. Before we jump into tipping, though, as always, I want to jump back to the team here. So we saw how easy it is, right? You've got the staff with their view. You've got the customers with their view. They can email receipts. They can choose to have something sent to them. They can see the discounts. So it makes the process definitely a lot easier. And, you know, when things are easier, that should translate into happier customers. So Sergio and Patrick, you know, from two different perspectives, I'd like to talk about the kind of making customer happy, right? What are we hearing from customers who've implemented this kind of a system? Are they saying that customers are happier because checkout is faster? You know, are they coming back? Is it making customers kind of come back? Sergio, I'll maybe kind of start with you. I don't know if Allbirds has mentioned, are they seeing an increase in customer satisfaction or getting better reviews? Have they mentioned anything at all about that in terms of a better checkout process?
Definitely, we have heard some about like the customer engagement, more about like the loyalty programs and so on, like the benefit of they feeling part of attending or feeling part of having this good attention at the sales moment, that which is one of the best experience that the merchants can provide to the customers while they are browsing on the stores, picking, just resizing, you know, interacting with the physical goods, and adding this great step at the moment of they are paying, because it's a very decisive and very important moment on the sale. Definitely boost, and we have had good comments on this. Increases the opportunities of complementing the sales, right? There are less questions about what the customer is acquiring at the moment. They feel more secure and they feel like more part of this like community of the brand that they are going to. So there's a boost on the part of the customer experience on that size.
Yeah. Patrick, I mean, I think I know the answer to this, right? But when retailers come to us and they say they want to do an implementation, where would you say kind of customer happiness ranks in terms of importance? And I think we know the ansor to that, but
I don't know if there's a rank above number one, but it's the ultimate priority, right? Like it's almost like you want your customers to not have to think at all about the checkout experience and really make it as seamless as possible, just like what Shopify has done with online checkouts with Shop Pay. You know, it's just a matter of, you know, following those basic processes to check out at a store, and they don't even realize that, you know, you're taking that as an opportunity to market to them, to upsell, cross sell. I mean, one use case for how easy it is to change that home screen on the customer facing display, you know, you can change that seasonally. You can have a different display on a by store basis, right? You can say, you know, ask us about our membership or ask us about, you know, an event that we're putting on. You can kind of use it as a real way to engage with customers. So no, it's all upside. And then, on the back end, right, the merchants themselves see all the operational benefits of tying all this stuff together. But from a customer perspective, it's all about making it as seamless as possible.
Okay, so you heard it here first. Retailers, make customers happy. That's important, okay? There's your tip of the day for this particular
It's
webinar. So let's
we did
talk
have a
about.
question come up. Sorry,
great.
if we can, whatever direction we want to go with this, but maybe we can answer this question really quick from
Sure.
the audience. And I might mispronounce the name, but I'm going to take a swing at it. So we had a question from Edu. He says, "Hi, how can I have two different prices for a product, one for online store and another one for point of sale?" I believe the short answer is yes, with a little bit of an asterisk, because I think it requires Shopify Plus. But Dean, I'll let you take the lead on that.
Yeah, let's let our Shopify expert, Sergio, right? This right to you.
Yeah, definitely. Well, this is a big announcement and a very required feature that is coming very soon for all of you, which is like the new Shopify markets, where will be available. If you also consult our last edition and our upcoming edition, I think you will have like more information like that. But in a disclaimer, there's coming very soon this future or this possibility from our merchants to generate different catalogs and price lists per each one of their retail locations, online stores, and also international regions where they are selling. Also, the B2B company that you already know from Shopify. So expect really very soon.
Yeah, and Sergio mentioned editions. I know editions. If you guys aren't familiar with that, you can definitely Google it and check it out. A lot of great information about Shopify, what's upcoming with Shopify, and even some cool screenshots and demos. Even about this very specific feature. So definitely check out editions to get a little bit of a preview of that.
Yep.
Patrick, any other questions?
That was it.
Okay, cool. Well, I do want to segue into what you were talking before a second ago about utilizing that screen for more than just, kind of a poster for the store. Let's utilize it for something a little bit more clever, for some marketing. So you'll see now when I click on this idle screen, I've got just a very basic, this is our store, hey, check out our store. So if I look at the live view, when a customer walks up to my terminal, they see just this on the actual unit itself. Now, your marketing department is probably pulling their hair out because they're saying, "Look, you're missing an opportunity here to make customers happy, right? By offering them something or by changing something." And so one really clever thing that you can do is, instead of just having kind of a screen here not really doing anything, why don't we change the image and add something with a little bit more kind of interactivity to it? So in this case, I've prepared this one here. Whoops, check it. So now what we've done is we've integrated a QR code onto this screen. And so what that's going to do is, and we've added a little messaging here on the top saying, hey, scan this for an instant discount, right? So we're now giving the customers, as they're walking around the store, a little bit of like, oh, wait, what's that about, right? I can get a discount? This is great. And we all know that Shopify, of course, is a unified solution. So this is a discount that could potentially be in store or on, or online as well. So just by putting a QR code here, and let's jump back over to our terminal view. Now take a look what happens. When somebody is walking around the store, you now have an entirely different view set up on this terminal here. So with this out front, they can scan that, and that could potentially take them to a page where you can have maybe a loyalty discount, maybe a special kind of in-store promotion or something that's happening. Patrick earlier had mentioned that a lot of retailers will change this kind of seasonally. So maybe I believe today is the first day of spring, so we could say, hey, first day of spring sale event or something, and they could scan this QR code. So this screen doesn't have to be just a idle screen, quote unquote, as Shopify is calling it. It could actually have some interactivity to it to create some promotions. So I'm going to jump back over to our awesome team here. And Sergio, I think this aligns with what you were saying earlier, right? Using that screen for promotions and doing some cool things with it. What is Allbirds doing? Are they like giving discounts? Do you know? Are they kind of sending them to a page or a sign up form? Any kind of insight into how like a big retailer is using this?
Yeah, well, specifically for Elbers right now, I don't know what are they using, but they definitely should be leveraging the different discount and loyalty programs that can be integrated with Shopify. This is seems to be like one of the most used or frequently solutions and good ideas from our retailers to offer to the customers. So yes, like basically leveraging the easily set up from the dashboard to create these awesome discounts and expanding or offering at the view of the customers in floor is one of the main uses of the customer facing displays, which is like a very like a hacky, really good way on making our customers happy.
Yeah.
And it seems a lot.
And Patrick, like you were saying, I think it sounds like a really good idea to change it, right? I mean, if customers are used to saying, "Hey, there's always this cool deal," when I go into the store, and they know that it changes every week, I mean, I think that could conceivably draw more people into the store when they know that this promotion's always going to change. What do you think? I feel like this could be a good way to maybe get some more foot traffic once they get used to the fact that there's always a new deal at these stations.
Yeah, there's an infinite amount of ways that you can use this from a marketing perspective. I mean, you can use it with a QR code that lands on a form that asks customers to share, information and kind of self-segment themselves. That can be super useful from a marketing standpoint. Even sharing their birthday, so you can like send out like a birthday promotion to them, these types of things. And as with all marketing things, A/B testing, right? Being able to change it so quickly and easily lets people experiment with different tactics and different approaches. So yeah, all of the above. So it's a great tool to experiment with, to see how you can use it to create a better customer experience.
Yeah, and you mentioned
Be
forms, right?
creative.
Shopify, of course, has Shopify forms, so it might make a lot of sense to have the QR code, send them back to your online store with a form, and then
Hmm.
collect some information, or as you said, put them into some cool segment, or ask them some information about some product that they like, or a lot of different ways it can be used for sure.
Yeah, or like a product quiz, right? Maybe that's a good way to route them to explore more on the online store after they leave the store.
Yeah, these are all good ideas. That's what we're doing here, giving out good ideas to
Somebody
everybody.
somebody write them
Yeah.
down.
Quickly, somebody write all this stuff down. It's good. It's a good thing we're recording this for everybody. This is free information for you. One huge thing that comes up all the time that we see everywhere, for good or for bad. If you're a customer, you may think differently. If you're a store owner, you may have a different opinion. But is tips, right? I mean, these days, you see tips everywhere, and the terminal is a great way to provide an interface for that. So I'm going to jump back over here to my Shopify POS store and show you how you can very easily turn on the tip setting, and instead of having to kind of tilt the tablet back and forth or slide it around, you can use the terminal to facilitate tips. So I'm back here on the POS screen. I'm going to click into my settings. And when I go into the settings area here, I can scroll down and enable tips. So I'm going to scroll here. I got to find it. I got my gift cards. I've got tips. So right now you can see I've got the tips turned off. So if I click into the tips setting here, I'm going to enable the tips. So I can pick 3 different tips. These are the defaults that are in here now, 3 different types. I can change any of these, right? If you want to, be kind of a high roller here and say, hey, let's make the top one like a 20% tip, right? Because everybody loves us and we're doing awesome customer service. You can totally do that. You can also turn on the ability for clients to choose their own custom amount. So if they don't want to tip one of those ones, they can certainly do so. There are a couple other cool features here if you want to set up maybe like a minimum amount. A lot of different features here. So I'm going to do one of the kind of standard things that you probably see, where there's 3 preset amounts. There's the ability to pick your own custom amount if you want. So that way the customer can pick something different from what's on the screen. So all we have to do now at this point is just enable it, which is what we've done. So I've now enabled this tips, and it's ready to go in my shop. So let's build a shopping cart. Let's go to checkout, and let's show you how the checkout is going to change now that we've got this tip feature turned on. So I'm going to start again. I'm going to put some products into the cart here. Let's do this cool shirt here. We've got a hat, and we're going to also put in a shirt for checkout. And our staff at our fictional store here is awesome. They're really great people. Everybody loves them, and customers can't wait to give them a huge tip. So let's pop over now to the terminal and see what that looks like. So when the staff member goes to the checkout step here, right? So they're going to go to the checkout, and we're going to do this payment type. You'll notice that what's going to happen here is that the checkout is going to, the terminal is now going to prompt and say, hey, before we complete the checkout, would you like to leave a tip? And so now you can see on the terminal screen here, it's got the 3 different tip types that we've pre-selected, as well as the ability to do a custom tip. So now the customer can basically click on one of these if they want, or they can say, maybe I want to do a custom amount, and they can actually type in a custom amount if they want, or they could just say, you know what, I'm just going to click the, let's say we're awesome. They want to give us 25% because we did such an awesome job. So now when we click on the 25%, they can now present their payment from here and do the checkout. So I'm going to go back to this screen, show you that if at any point in time they just wanted to pick one of the custom ones, they could just click on it, and it's that easy. So all they have to do is just basically click on the amount that they want, and then they can confirm and complete the checkout by using this step here. And now it's just a matter of clicking on the card. They can tap their card, put all their information in there, and that, of course, completes the checkout. So very easy way to have tips, present tips, and make it so the customer has their own screen for that. So we got to talk about tips. I know it's an important thing. Sergio, are you seeing a lot more stores asking, to have integrated tips like this and making kind of the tipping process easier? Is that a pretty big requirement that you're hearing from merchants?
Definitely, it's one of the also like I will say our top 5, because what they have always told to us and is a really retail use case known scenario is that it actually reduces this customer friction, right? And ourselves can also prove it, when going to any store and so on, or restaurant or service. That moment when you need to tap off to the tip is more comfortable for you when you have the decision on the palm on your face, and you quickly can see the options and bring the tip. So the merchants, of course, see that benefit for reducing that customer friction, and also the ability of having the way of customizing these amounts depending on each merchant business and so on. It's a really good fit on their cases. So tips is a great feature that is very asked, and Shopify can provide good insights on that.
Yeah. And I would imagine, Patrick, maybe you can give some insight from a merchant standpoint. The fact that the terminal lets the customer kind of see it and pick it, there's no hey, did you really hit the right tip amount, right? Because if they don't have an interface to see, and if the staff member is the one kind of manipulating it on, some hidden screen, are you sure that it was really the right amount? So have you heard about people actually really liking the fact that the customers can deal with it, and it takes some of that kind of suspiciousness out of whether or not the right tip was used or not?
Absolutely. I mean, from a consumer perspective, I would feel much more comfortable being able to make that selection myself. I guess just curious. I mean, this could also be used to kind of gauge the performance of a particular sales staff, right? I mean, the point of sale, you're tracking the sessions of who's actually managing that point of sale device. So, I mean, you can even tie these tips back to a particular sales representative and use it to, track their performance and get some insights that way. So it goes both ways. But yeah, as far as the customer perspective, I'm all about making that decision myself.
Yeah, and I'll kind of piggyback off what you just said, Patrick, here. So I'm just going to jump back to the Shopify screen. In your analytics and reporting, you can see right here that tips is actually one of the reports that you can run. So if you want to see what the tips are looking like, who's doing the tips, attribution, all that kind of good stuff here, you just need to go into your analytics, go into your reporting, and there's an entire section here under the finances that shows you the tips and the breakdown for it. So that's definitely, a really great thing to have. And like you said, Patrick, use that data to track, hey, who's doing really well on my team, who's getting a lot of tips, what products are getting a lot of tips, what orders are getting a lot of tips, definitely a good way. And I would say maybe at the end of the year to, give out some bonuses, right, to the people who are doing really awesome. Cool.
Agree.
Okay. So I'm going to start the wrap up process here. So, point of sale settings, again, really, really simple. This is a whole unified solution. You can manage everything here right from your point of sale area. You can go right into the settings, and everything that we just talked about is available here right under this customer display area. You can adjust your screens. You can use the either default settings, upload some graphics, thank you screens. Everything is accessible and editable right from within this screen here. You can customize your terminal. You can customize everything. And I think it's also probably worth noting, and Sergio, maybe you can talk a couple seconds about this before we wrap up, but the POS terminal or customer-facing display can also now be any Android device, right? They don't necessarily have to have the actual terminal. You now have the ability to just use any Android-capable device. Do you want to talk a little bit about some of the options around that?
Yes, definitely. We actually have this great application, this customer view app, which can be installed from any Android device from the corresponding Play Store, which will offer most of the functionality that we have already seen. And yes, it will be great to just to check it and also not be limited on have the corresponding hardware or so on. So Shopify is trying to expand the compatibility around not just hardware, also software. So we can have like these cool features integrated in any merchant need or requirements as well. So yes, we will definitely recommend that that approach is also.
Yeah, so a lot of options there around this terminal. So if you've got some Android devices that you have already, you want to repurpose, you can certainly do that. If you don't have any devices and you want to get some of these devices, the terminals themselves, of course, are on the POS store, the Shopify POS store, so you can get some of those. And if you're still trying to feel things out, you can always add the POS terminal. So maybe you already have a Shopify POS configuration. You're not locked out in any way at any point in time. You can always just add the terminal. It's one of those cool additions that you can do. Maybe try it on a couple stations first and then outfit all of your stations. So it's very modular, very easy to kind of add, try it out. Definitely going to make customers happy. And according to Patrick, that's the number one. That's number one. Happy customers is number one on the list. Okay, well, we're definitely getting to the end of the hour here. As always, we'd like to save a little bit of time for some kind of wrap-up thoughts and any Q&A from anybody out there watching. So why don't we maybe kind of start with that, Patrick? Do we have any questions at all from anybody out there asking about anything that we've gone over or anything new that we can talk about?
No, so no other questions that came in, but I did have a live running poll for attendees, kind of asking where people are at in their Shopify journey. And I noticed a few people said, they're either using Shopify point of sale already or considering Shopify point of sale. So, that's what Sunrise is here for. If you have questions about what it takes to make the move to Shopify point of sale, e-commerce, any and all of the above, definitely reach out. We love chatting about this stuff, just like we were talking about here with hardware. That's one of many pieces of the puzzle when it comes to making the move to Shopify. And we'd be happy to advise on what hardware you need and what the process looks like from a data migration standpoint coming from your old point of sale system. Or moving customer data over. These are all very, very frequent questions, and it's a little bit different for every merchant. So we understand if there's confusion or questions around it. Our team has experience migrating people off of all sorts of point of sale systems to Shopify. So if we haven't done it already, we're probably the best team to ask if you're working with some obscure old point of sale system. Don't hesitate to reach out. We'd love to chat with you. We are a full service Shopify agency too. So just one more shameless plug for us beyond just point of sale and migrations, design work, conversion rate optimization, everything to do with making sure that your online store and in-store experience is helping you generate the most revenue and streamlining operations. That's what we do day in and day out. So don't hesitate to reach out.
Cool. And, they can just come to our website, sunriseintegration.com. Definitely,
Yeah.
shameless plugs. No problem there. Sergio,
Well, maybe
any kind
one
of
more
last
to
thought?
add. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, Sergio, any kind of last thoughts on the terminal or anything that, maybe we didn't cover that you want to kind of make a note of?
No, I think that just in general, as you see, like this terminal is not just like a payment solution, just like a streamline option to have no an option to streamline operations in floor, in customer experiences, and so on. So there's a lot of ways to get creative with the tool and to boost all your sales and so on. And of course, I also want to shout out Sunrise Integration for hosting this event and for everything you do to support the merchants and all the community. I think definitely your expertise in building the integrations and optimizing all the retail experience as online experience is definitely a game changer on all the business that are looking to grow. So many thanks for what are you doing.
Well, thank you. Really appreciate that. The kind words. Thank you so much for that. And with that said, thank you for joining us. Really appreciate you having you on the webinar here. It's always great to have someone from Shopify to be able to kind of answer questions and help the team out. So thank you very much. I really appreciate it. Patrick, of course, as always, thank you for always taking part in all of these. And since we're talking about shameless plugs, want to have just a quick shout out for our next webinar coming up. And that's going to be on April 24th. And that's going to be talking about migrating to Shopify. So if there's anybody out there who is kind of a net new customer and you're kind of considering Shopify, our next upcoming series here for Q2 is going to be all about new customers coming to Shopify. So today's webinar was, hey, if you've got Shopify and you want to add a terminal and you're kind of using it, how can you expand? We're now going to have a whole series about brand new. So we're going to talk about how do you migrate? How do you pick the right plan for you? What's the right Shopify plan for you, right? What's the right theme? What kind of theme you can use? The next 3 webinars we're going to do is all for those new customers. So if you or somebody you know is a kind of a net new customer and they're really looking to consider Shopify, here's the very first one we've got on April 24th coming up, talking about, how to migrate to Shopify. So again, everybody, thanks. Appreciate Sergio, Patrick, appreciate your time. Thank you all for watching. And we will catch you on April 24th for the next one. Bye-bye.